We're running all sorts tonight. We're in a different location, as you can see. We're streaming directly from the war zone. It's all happening. So we've got our new show each week called Warzone Wednesday, if you hadn't noticed already. How to survive World War III. Since things are ramping up so badly in the way that they are.
Critical alert. This is not a test.
We're properly in it. So, as a result, it's not going anywhere. This seems to be ramping up more and more. Unfortunately, as I predicted, and as Tia predicted over the last 2 years that I've been trying to put the warning out, it looks like here we are, we're right on the cusp. So, it makes sense to do at least a weekly show dedicated to talking about what's going on with the global insights around the global threat analysis is part of that, of course, and looking at what's going on and what this means to us. As the part one, we'll be looking in depth as to some of the stories out there at the moment relevant. And then in part two, we'll be looking at how we survive World War III, looking at what we've learned and what we come up with and some of the ideas we get from the part one, where we're looking at what's going on and what could happen and what's said to happen. And then in part two, we'll be looking at ways to mitigate that in our survival skills that we need to build, or our survival knowledge we need to gain, or the preps that we need to get sorted for World War III and survive it. If you want to, some people would say they don't even want to survive it. So we've got a live poll rocking tonight, as we like to do. So thank you to everyone who's voted already. 19 votes already. For those that aren't seeing this live and watching this afterwards, I tend to, as well as on the announcements here. So if you're a member on Discord, it's completely free to join. Links in the description of this video. You'll get the announcements when I'm doing a show. Is one benefit of it. But also on the main hangout here, if you're watching this afterwards, you'll see here, this is the live poll we've got rocking live in the chat. If you're watching us live, you should see something looking like this that you can vote. Which type of warfare concerns you the most? Which type of warfare concerns you most? We had one like this a few months ago, somewhat similar but different. Which type of warfare concerns you the most? Either biological, chemical, cyber warfare, internet down, communications down, or maybe all your stuff gone, right? And then you got the EMP, which would result in a grid down and a lot of technology not being available to us and things like that, devices not working. So there are your three options to choose from. And depending on what you, don't forget, I'm not halfway through, I'm 90% of the way through my ultimate prepping guide. In fact, I've got it open on this screen here. It's a book I've been writing for a couple of years. It's all coming together now. I've only got the last chapter, Surviving World War III, to sort out. And you know what's interesting, right, is I just happen to have it open on the SHTF Intel sources, just one of the chapters that's in my book, right? The Ultimate Prepping Guide. And alternative news and reports, right? This Vision launch, which was one of the main things of news I would use, which collates a load of news from around the world kind of together from lots of alternative non-mainstream news sites, that's down, right? That for about the last probably a week after I wrote this chapter, which was months and months ago, right, it went down. And it turns out as well, there's another one of these that's gone down. It says domain name for sale, right? But in here I've also got where's he gone? Oh, the World War III and global conflict, right? So you see this War News 24, that's gone as well. Yeah. You go to original page and it just says site can't be reached, right? That's basically all you get from it. So this is a bit of an ish. Because of course already there's like 3 or 4 links on the SHTF Intel sources that have been removed for you know what reasons. And these were a lot of my sources, and there's not many to replace them, to be honest. But we've got a few tonight. We'll be looking at a few bits and pieces as part of the SHTF Intel report and so on. But thank you to those that are voting live in the poll. Thank you also for hitting the like button. It does help the video. So please do share the video as well on your social medias, your Telegrams, your Facebooks, your TikToks, or whatever you want to do to share it. It's the only way to drag people by their hair into YouTube, because YouTube's never going to promote my videos. So thank you to everybody who's doing what they can. The War onesie, that's it. feel free to join us on our Onesie Wednesday with in the war zone. I hope you're liking our location tonight. Who was first in the chat anyway tonight? Was it Dr. Jesse? There's mine. It was as well, Dr. Jesse. I've got mine on top chat. It needs to be live chat on the live chat, just so you know. And then you get it in chronological order and everyone. Yes, so Dr. Jesse, first in the house. Cynthia Guaranotta, my darling, was second. Great to see you. Sandy in there. I was chatting to Sandy right up until jumping in the shower lastminute.com. Scottish Prepper in the house. Good to see you, my man. Robert McNamara. VIP Wolfpack member. Thank you for being with us. Daily Survival. Moderator of all moderators. My head of security. Kelly in the house. Wow, the vote is dead even. Don't be telling people, girlfriend. They can't see it until they voted themselves. That's one of the enticing things, Kelly. Yeah? The fear of missing out is like, oh, you don't get to see the results until you've actually voted yourself. But glad to hear you voted, Kelly. Tamara in the house as well. Great to see you. Beautiful flower profile icon. I like it. Sigma Prepper confirms we like it. Oh, what do I need to do? We need to be in here, but we need to be in here. But we kind of need to do that. Okay, that's better. We're switching back to blue. Just this thing down here, that's all. No biggie. No biggie. Kazza as well joining us. Thank you, Kazza, for being with us. And Michael Hanna. Evening. John C. in the house. Thank you to those that joined in with the after party yesterday as well. Father No. Father No. Lovely to see you. Tip of the hat. Tip of the hat. So of course after the show we do the after party here in this room that I'm fiddling with my mouse cursor. The after party voice chat is where we go. Usually it's only for the after party. It's only for the VIP Patreon members. Thank you to UK Urban Prepper and Pat Riot as the most tourist supporters on Patreon from as little as $6 a month, 15 cents a day or whatever it is. So you get access to these rooms here and VIP voice chat after parties. But leading up to Christmas, we're doing it to the public. So again, free to join the Sigma Prepper Discord community. All these rooms full of knowledge base and information to do with preparedness, survival, and everything else in between. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, I believe. Hawkins in the house. Great to see you. And John Smith. Thank you, John Smith. Great to see you with us. Hope you voted live in the poll. So we're going to be getting into it. I think what we need to do first is to bust into some quotes to set the scene. Chill out a bit. We've got Hugo Bear in the house with us as well tonight. He's kipping. He's keeping us all safe, allegedly, in the big chair. Hello, peeps. I am thankful for Trump. Well, we'll see. We'll see, my darling. Anything could happen at this place, at this point in time. You didn't have nuclear the first of choices. No, specifically for that reason. It would have been too easy. Would have been too easy. That's the obvious one. It's out of the slightly non-obvious. I was interested to get a gauge and a cross-section to see what Guam. So we'll get into the quotes then. Thank you to those that sent them in. Again, good reason to be on Discord. That's where you submit your quotes. Let's see what we got. So first and foremost, while we're here, before it gets gnarly, cheers everyone, love, peace and progress to the pack. Don't forget, exclusive merch, official Sigma Prepper Mega Mugs available from my Etsy merch store in the description. It's linked in there for your ass. Thank you, my darlings. That is so yummy, it's not even funny. I'll tell you what as well. Got my fave chocolate in the house. Galaxy with caramel in the middle of it, so I'll be having some of that in a minute. So let's kick things off then with the Sigma mindset quotes, just so we can tune ourselves, and we can release all sense of fear and panic and just get into being what we are, which is Sigma personalities. Yeah, we're not alphas or betas. We don't want to boss anyone around. We don't want to be bossed around. We just want to do our own thing, be independent, self-reliant. Yeah, focus on skill set building, knowledge building, right? Becoming the best people that we can become and the least reliant on everything else that we can become, because we know we can have more confidence in our own ability to survive than to rely on other things and entities like the government and FEMA to help us in a crisis. That's what Sigma's all about. So if that sounds like you, you're probably in the right place. So these are quotes that people can submit over on the Discord server, and in the top there, shared by, it will show you who submitted the quote. So this one's mine and it's from me. It's out of my book. Survival begins not with the body but with the will to persevere. Survival begins not with the body but with the will to persevere. This is like, I see, so, and this is seemed relevant for tonight's Warzone Wednesday, because I hear a lot of people saying in some ways if it came to full-on World War III bidney, then they'd rather just be in the actual epicenter when it lands, just so they don't have to go through, you know, the whole radiation poisoning or walking around with like skin dripping off you, you know, or whatever. Yeah, zombie land. Afterwards, it's the aftermath that people just don't feel like they want to live through. And although survival instinct kicks in and the will to survive kicks in when you're sort of on your last legs typically, or when the adrenaline's flooding and it's all happening, before such a time, rather than thinking, I want to survive that and come out the other side of it, so let's figure out what we need to prepare with and how we can survive and get through that, people are like, do you know what, I'd rather just not bother. They just don't have the will to persevere, right? Now, I'm one of them never giver uppers. My first rule for my son, who's now 16 years old, since he was born, was rule number 1. If anyone asks him what's rule number 1, he'll say never give up. Right? So, it's all very well having all the gear and a good idea, but if you ain't got a will to persevere, you're just going to sit behind a tree and just give up. Anyway, Dave Survival sent this one in. Thank you so much, my darling. This is a great one. A man's rights rest in 3 boxes: the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. Frederick Douglass came up with that one. A man's rights rest in 3 boxes: the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. Frederick Douglass. Thank you for that one. Don't forget, if you think you've seen better quotes or you know of better ones, you can submit your own over on a Discord server, just like these people have. And look at that. Oh, UK Urban Prepper, one of our new friends. He's a friend of ours, as they say in Mafia lingo. Friend of yours, friend of mine, or a friend of ours. He's a friend of ours. UK Urban Prepper, and he's a VIP Patreon member as well, so no. The problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. Margaret Thatcher, that was, ex-Prime Minister, United Kingdom. The problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. Of course. That's how it goes. Cypher the Cypher. Utah Prepper here. Great to see you, my man. Great to see you. I've got one of my, well, not one of mine, my best mate of all time. My Bazamataz. British dude moved to Utah to marry a Utahian woman. Yes, indeed. Toast to you and Utah, Cypher. Hear me now, says Daily Survival, Razamataz. Drew's son is quoting Churchill. Rule number 1, never give up. She was awesome. Are you referring to Margaret Thatcher? Yes, you're the Iron Lady. Oh dear. Fred knew what he was talking about, says Father Note. Amen. Oh, is the hungry tourist here? Yes. Great to see you. Just in time for the quotes. So, Thank you to those that sent in the quotes over on the Discord server. You know where to go. Links in the description below if you want to join. Great place to be. And you can submit your own cool mindset, Sigma mindset quotes. You look for the room that's got the brain on it and you'll see, and go and put your own favourite ones in there. And thank you to those that have. Let's get back to the war zone. Here we are. It's all going on here, I tell you. This location we're in, right, for our Warzone Wednesdays this is pretty much what we can expect, to be honest, right? Let us know if you disagree or agree. Oh, look, funny enough, look, Cynthia was just saying that in just as I look on the comments. Love your background. What do you mean background? It's not a background. This is a location, girlfriend. What are you talking about? This is all happening behind me. It's going crazy. Look. And I've even got Hugo Bear next to me on the chair. Oh, chair. Here. We're live with Hugo Bear on the chair in a war zone. Oh dear. Discord server links flowing in the chat. Thank you to my moderator of all moderators. Day Survival. Thatcher knew what was that to? Do you know what? I'm tempted to have. I think I'm going to open my chocolate because that's the whole point of having the onesies on the Wednesday for the Warzone. Warzone Wednesday in the onesies, right, is because it's really important that we try and be as comfortable as possible while talking about really uncomfortable situations and scenarios such as WW3. WW3. So I'm going to have one square of my chocolato, my Wolfpack amigos. And then we're going to get straight into, we're going to do a global threat analysis and we'll have a look at some headlines. Hugo, oh look, he's looking at me now, look. Oh, why do I keep doing that? Hugo Bear's looking right at me. Can you smell the chocolato? Can Hugo Bear smell the chocolato? Don't forget as well, another great thing that you can do over on the Discord server here is you go in the main public lounge category up here. You can collapse these up and down, so make sure they're expanded. Main hangout is where people just dump in whatever, and that's where people arrive. So welcome to Accountant Paul as our most recentest member. Harry as well. So thank you for joining. But also here, Animal Lovers look. Looks like we got some new picks. We need to give it some Wolfpack love, don't we? Let's give it some. Here we go. Look at that, beautiful. Rhodesian Ridgeback from Mr. Atom Blue. Haven't seen him in the chat tonight yet. But yeah, again, Scottish Prepper. Got him, have him on the show as a guest at some point. But loving his Huskies. Loving his Huskies. Such little cuties. So thank you so much. And we got one. Oh, hold on. Hold on. We got to give it some wolf love. And then we've got Sandy there as well, who's sharing one of her friends.
Right.
Pigeon.
Don't tell me off. I don't do nothing.
Bless her cotton socks. So yeah, whatever your pet is, your animal, do it. Get it over in there, over on the Discord community server. It's a great place to make friends and share the things you love about the world. And that's the whole point of perseverance, having a will to survive. If there's no reason to survive, things like cute cuddly animals is one of the reasons you can use as to why it's worth surviving now, isn't it? Talking of surviving, let's get into the global threat analysis with your boy Drew. Do it. Right. Deep breaths, everybody. Deep breaths. Sip of the old tea for me. Cheers, everybody. Yummy. So we're going to be checking out the headlines, see what's going on, have a look and see where this World War III business is kicking off and global conflict is escalating with the Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, Hezbollah, you name it, is rocking in multiple places. So there's lots of reasons for it to kick off and develop. Oh, look, Father, no, tomorrow will be my first Thanksgiving since the 1980s. Moving in with my girlfriend so we don't have to go through Great Depression to World War III and Apocalypse alone. Brilliant. Is that dark chocolate, says Cynthia? No, it's normal milk chocolate. Yeah. But it's got caramel. It's got gooey caramel inside, Cynthia. Smooth caramel. So, once you bust past the yummy chocolate, you've got squidgy caramel. That's how we roll. I've eaten all my choc, fruit and nut earlier with a cup of PG tips. I'll be getting another cup of tea in the break time. And then we'll be coming back, don't forget, for part 2, where we'll be talking about how we survived World War III. In this part 1, we're talking about all the signs of World War III, and so people got an idea. It's not a background, it's just a location. It's not a background. This is where I actually am, in the war zone. Is it in Oldham? That's a brilliant. That could be comment of the night, John C. Yeah. I mean, you literally, John, you could tag quite a number of city names on that, couldn't you? Oh, amazing. Right, so let's have a little fly through. And Hugo Bear's still just looking at me as though, you know, where's my bit, Daddy? But he's gonna be ignored for the time being. God dear, what do we even start with? Well, let's just have a look and see what's going on with the BBC headlines, because it's just a good way to see what mainstream wants us to know. Let's hit the refresh button so we can just set the stage. Diver describes rescuing nephew from campsite. Displaced Lebanese head. Israel to pit against ICC. Right. Pakistan screw. I mean, do you see the pattern here? Nothing really. Right. There's no key headlines. If you look specifically at UK, MPs to debate to petition calling for another election. At this point here, 4 hours ago, talking about 2.7 million signatures, but to be honest, it was at 2.7 million signatures yesterday. So we'll pull it up and we'll see what it really is at the moment. Yeah, 2.82 million signatures. And for those who missed it yesterday or the other day when I did a show about it, specifically following it live as it broke through 1 million subscribers. Yeah, 100,000 petitions is the threshold breakpoint for it to go into be debated in Parliament, right? It's not obligated to, but that's the idea of this petition service that the government offers. And it's only about 0.6% of petitions that get to this point of 100,000. It's about 4.3% that get to 10,000. So the fact that it's busted through to 2.8 million, and you've still got like nearly 6 months to go, 20th of May, 2025, right? And most of them don't even get to 100,000 after 6 months. Only 0.6% do, and this has flown past that 28 times. It's gone 28 times the threshold in 4 days or whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, that's not a nothing burger. There's been a lot of like news in the UK, to be honest. There's, you know, things like packages. I'm not sure they're even showing it on here. Sorry, referring to the mainstream here, looking at the UK specifically. The Storm Burt stuff, as I showed the footage with some of the flooding and things going on with the... but you'll see they don't really have anything to do with all the other bits and pieces that was going on yesterday and the day before, where there was like a thing going on at Gatwick, a security threat. There was another instance in some other town with something that looked like a suspicious package. There was something else with some cyber attack in a hospital, the NHS hospital, that took the hospital down. It seemed like there was a lot of things that were taking over the headlines and taking over the stories. And a lot of the time when you see that and then the next day it's gone, like you see here, and there's no word of it anywhere, right? The only thing with the old BOMB jobby is this story here. US, you know what, suspect in Wales for years, investigators. This is what they do. They'll throw stories in here that flag up the keywords, so that if I do a Control F and I'm going for BOMB in there, it will show me that as an entry, and you go, oh no, it has got a story about that, but it's not that one. You see, these are kind of like honeypot dragnet things. And so when there's stories that they don't want you to know about, they'll put out stories that have similar keywords that they can funnel people away from the real story that people are looking for and searching for, because they've heard their colleague at work or a friend or family member or some, you know, some YouTube, TikTok channel talking about it, and they'll go and search for it. And to make sure that people don't find those stories, they'll put out stories that have similar keywords in it, and they'll do their little briefcase under the table to make sure they rise to the top, which is what happens anyway, don't forget, with the authoritative news sources. It means that anytime there's any authoritative news source, such as Sky News, BBC, Channel 4, all these sorts of things, MSNBC, CNN and so on, all of these outlets end up floating to the top, whether it's the searches on YouTube or Google or just generally the stories rising are always the authoritative news sources. So what they do is they just put out stories that are just ones they find from around the world anywhere, that they can then inject these keywords into the titles of them, put them on their front page of the news, and then when people are out there searching for certain things that is going on, they don't feel like it's been wiped from the internet. It's just all they're getting is these other stories that are sort of similar but different, that include another situation like that somewhere else or some other time, and it's now just some investigation about it or something. Do you see? Let me know if you know what I'm talking about. But that's a classic technique, you see. And so one of the telltale signs of that is when you see lots of these stories going out that seem like there's a distraction from something else, yeah, going on in the UK at the time, which there was. And then today, the entire headlines, even for the UK specifically, when I look, is flushed completely of those stories that were the stories that looked so out of blue and so similar, and in such enough places around the country that it means that you can overrun the local news stations with those stories in those counties and areas of the UK where these events have happened. There was about 5 different events in, funnily enough, very different parts of the country. That's another telltale sign, because that allows them to take over the local news with those stories as well, so that they don't have a reason to talk about the other things that are going on, right? And like I say, then you come today and then there's no reference to that. Usually this news story cycle is about 72 hours, so they would continue running those articles and those headlines for about 72 hours with additions to the story, new things that have been revealed, new interviews of people, new footage that's come to light, and all this other stuff over about a 72-hour period until that story fizzles out. So there's just things to look for and patterns, and where we're entering into this, like, clearly this wartime level of control of information and propaganda and from all sides, not just our own sides against us, but you know, protecting their own interests. But it's also, of course, propaganda coming from all other countries and from all other adversaries and things like that. So we've got to be more vigilant than ever when it comes to reading the news stories. This is kind of the point I guess making. So let's just have a look at some key headlines that I've pulled out from some alternative sources, just talking about some of the stories connected to wartime and things. Carolyn Rose in the house, great to have you with us, all the way from Australia, my darling. My main man in the house, great to see you. Danger Bob, everyone shall kneel and bow before. VIP patron, supporter, member, Danger Bob, great to see you, my man. let us know what you're seeing in the news, anybody, at the moment, in terms of, you know, the escalation of global tensions and things, and any signs you're seeing. Some people are seeing military equipment being moved around. Some people are seeing an increase in aircraft flying overhead. They live near military bases. Let us know if you're seeing anything like that where you are. This is our opportunity to share our intel on all the stuff that's SHTF. And then we'll deflection. Yep, so many distractions, isn't it? I don't know who Paul Rivera is. Do I know? Do I want to know? I don't know. Ready Prepper 1 in the. It's great to see you, my man. I hope you're ready for wartime. I hope you're in your onesie for Wednesday. We're doing the Warzone Wednesday in the onesies from now on. Cheers, everyone. So the part 1, we're talking about what's going on in the world like we're doing right now with the global threat analysis. Part 2, when we come back after the break a little bit later, we'll be getting into how to survive it and some of the ideas we've got regarding some of the threats that we've got. I'm sure you'll have a lot to say about that, Ready Prepper 1, which would be good. And Scottish Prepper as well, if he's still with us in part 2. So, Drew, you and Hugo need a helmet for that location, innit? Always ready, says Ready Prepper 1. I mean, the clue's in the fucking name, innit, right? Oh dear. Ready Prepper 1, love it. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Let's blast through, because there's a couple here, so this could take some time, but hopefully not. Right, so a couple of stories here. This is Elon Musk, a billionaire entrepreneur, closely aligned with former President Donald Trump and a potential candidate for his administration, has publicly criticised President Joe Biden's request to Congress for $24 billion in additional aid to Ukraine. So, which again is another escalation, and I've showed time and time again just the sheer amount of hardware that's going to Ukraine from just a sheer number of countries is quite worrying and scary. And it gives you an idea just the number of countries that it's going to be against, the number of countries that it's going to be against, and it's pretty scary stuff. Tinderbox. So Politico reported that on Joe Biden's proposed to Congress to approve an additional funding of $24 billion. It's just a crazy, innit? And they can't afford to do stuff for the vets and for the homeless and for everything else. And of course, he's supposed to be outgoing, so he's not supposed to be making any bold moves, including authorising Ukraine to use long-range missiles, for example, and stuff like shoving another $24 billion in his skyrocket and go and buy another yacht. The requested funds are part of a strategic package. Yeah, keyword strategic, innit? This is not normal, Musk wrote on X, commenting on Biden's funding proposal. Of course it's not. Any Biden administration funding proposal should be rejected. And so we need to be aware that there's an awful lot of people out there with a lot of interests and stakeholders in things like military industrial complex, that they gain great profits and power and control all the time. There's wartime. This time leading up until about March as well is typically the time that they ramp up the propaganda around Cold War, World War III and stuff, because it's leading up to the time where the military budget in the US declare their budget and why they need more money than last time. Right? Now, what I'm inclined to do, and I used to do this a long time ago, and it got, I don't want to use the word, it got coerced. Yeah. But if we look at something like Google Trends, right, you see here, this is Google Trends, and you can put a search term World War III in there, and you can see how at the moment, October, November, we're going wallop. So this is over time, the number of searches that people are doing, Canada, Finland, New Zealand, and all that in the world. America. So more and more people are searching for World War III. Let's try as well. We don't want access to a video game. We want to do, if you do Cold War, you see, when you look over like 2004 to present, do you see these consistent spikes? And then you got this one here. Oh, if I can even get it up there. So you can you see the pattern here every year? You see the date down here. This is going from 2004 to 2022, and these spikes go up every year because, and before it was coerced, they tried to coerce this one with this spike here, which was just nonsense, right? But what they do is they do that to try and dampen down the rest of the data. If you understand statistical analysis, I used to be one of my specialities, so bear with me. But when you want to hide this pattern of searches, what you do is you shove a load of data in there like that, and it dampens all the other ones down in relation to it, which is why we saw them doing that so heavily, which is why it ruined it for me. You see, these ones here, this one here is false data, and so they shove that in there. And the reason is because before they did that, you would have seen the same pattern as you do with the Cold War, right? With this recurring pattern. And for those that don't know, right? For those that don't know, I was just talking about this pattern here of people searching for Cold War, and like I say, it used to get the same pattern for searching World War III, but they shoved these data, load of bullshit data in just to sort of try and hide the pattern. Worked quite well in World War III, but not like this one. But what this is like I say, every year, around about this time of year through to about March, right, is when they're really pushing out the propaganda because, oh, you know, Rocket Man is going to get us, yeah? Oh, Syria's going to get us. Oh, you know, this is going to get us. Oh, Iran's going to use nukes. So they kick this stuff off in the media all the time, and then in the Senate, they can then refer to the media stories about these escalating situations right in time for when they declare the budget for the US military, and it's always more. They can say, yeah, but Rocket Man, you know, yeah, we got to do a Rocket Man. Do you see? And the timing of it is consistently exactly the same every year in history. So for those that didn't know, now you do. So you got stuff like this, right? I think I've jumped ahead a couple. No, that's okay. We've done that one. So Germany plans to expand number of bunkers, bomb shelters, as Russia-Ukraine war escalates. Now, this is something I heard a good friend of mine, he just doesn't know we're friends, Neil McCoy Ward, who I like. I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure Neil McCoy Ward used to follow my other channel before he got properly spanked back in the day. So, anyway, Neil McCoy Ward, shout out to you, my man. Anyway, I was listening to his while I was in the shower tonight before going live, because he did one about like 2 hours before my show. So I listened to it through. He's a British dude, and he comes from an economic background originally. Well, somewhat. But yeah, he usually focuses on that sort of side of things. But he mentioned about the whole Germany bunkers, the warnings going out to their public. Again, I mentioned a few days ago about the Swedish government giving their preparedness guide for World War III, which is going to be really interesting timing for my book, The Ultimate Guide to Prepping, and the other things, the ebooks to do with surviving World War III and grid down scenario prepping and other things that are planned to follow that. It's interesting timing that the governments are doing a similar thing. So Germany, I mean, have they got time to build? I mean, you would think that Elon Musk is super busy right now because he's got the whole boring company, yeah? Don't forget, where he drills the whole tunnels and things, right? I mean, that's kind of what you need when you're doing a bunker, right? So he knew what he was getting into in the timing, right? Following increased tensions around the globe as a result of Russia's military operation in Ukraine, Germany has begun working on a bunker plan to drastically increase the number of bomb shelters and underground hideouts across the country. According to the German Interior Ministry, a number of public structures are being considered for bomb shelter conversion, including metro stations, underground car parks and basements of public buildings. Germans are also being encouraged by the nation's Interior Ministry to consider converting their own personal basements and garages into potential shelters. At the same time, the nation is developing a special app for civilians. That will give civilians. At the same time, the nation is developing a special app for civilians that will give directions to the nearest bunker in the case of an emergency. Got it out in the end. With a digital directory slated to become available once the shelter plans are drawn up. So, I mean, basically, you're going to have an app and you're going to like check it out and see where's the nearest one to you. So you're going to have to hope. Do you know, I lived in Cyprus for many years. Me and Magic Hand, Mrs. Second Prepper, and our son was born in Cyprus. And the house that we lived in and rented was actually the official bomb shelter for that town. Which was actually my studio and lab when we were living in Cyprus. I ran a media company as well, and that was like my studio stage. I had full height blue screen stage set up in there and stuff like that, right? So our house was kind of like my office and studio as well, because it was a sanctioned bomb shelter under our house. And in Cyprus, southern Cyprus, because of their war, and because you've got northern Cyprus, southern Cyprus, and you've still got a no man's land in the middle with the United Nations and the Humvees and stuff there. They're not Humvees though, they're like British Range Rovers. Poor man's Humvee, basically. So, anyway, but they keep one of the regulations for me as somebody renting a property that has a sanctioned bunker in the basement. It had like blast doors that were like this thick metal. So it's perfect for me because there was no light in there, obviously. So perfect for a studio when I'm doing filming and stuff, and you need to control the light. But it was interesting that in every town there's one of those, and it's just a house. I mean, the person who had it before, the owner of the property, had a gymnasium in there they were charging membership for. There must have been about 20 running machines, all the mirrors along the wall, you know, like you get in a gym with all the free weights. Yeah, it's a big old place in the underground. It was a 5-bedroom house we rented, but we rented it because it was still cheaper than buying a 3-bedroom house and renting an office or warehouse or whatever separately, right? Anyway, but I wouldn't have thought that this bunker that was our house, it was all right. I mean, I'd much rather be in that now than anything we've got at the moment where we live in, but so Germany was prepared with over 2,000 bomb shelters and underground bunkers for civilian use following the Cold War, although the large majority of such shelters have been decommissioned since they are no longer in use. Now, I'm not sure how many people in the UK, how many bomb shelters in the UK, but I don't think it's none for us. None for us. But check it out. Germany has 579 designated public bomb shelters in the case of a national emergency. I'm guessing these are governmental high-level ones, not the town-level governmental ones like I'm talking about in Cyprus, right? So 579 with an estimated carrying capacity of 480,000 people, which means about 200,000 people comfortably, covering just 0.57% of the country's 84 million citizens. Is that even enough to start your country back over again with the population? Is UK Urban Prepper in the house? You missed your Sigma Mindset quote being read out. So thank you for that, my man. Appreciate you sending that in. Have I said hello to Happy Limpy yet? I don't think I have. Great to see you, my darling. Welcome to the Warzone Wednesdays, wearing your onesies. I hope you're wearing your onesie, UK Urban Prepper. Yeah? Yeah. Warzone Wednesdays in your onesies is how we're rocking from now on. I'm sure they'll provide, and I'm sure they'll provide them in every town. But you know what? There's no way that the town or sort of even village that we lived in Cyprus would have fitted in our bunker, in our house. Yeah. The fact it's even been talked about, right? Don't forget, typically governments don't want to even talk about the possibility of talking about the possibility because they don't want to start people panic buying and giving up on work and not paying their bills because they're like, oh, fuck it, it's going to be a war anyway. This is how governments think. Do you know what I mean? They think differently. They're like, they don't want people to get panicked about it. They want people to be fearful about it, but they want people to be fearful about it in a controlled way that makes you want to become part of it and want to defend your country. They'll be the basis of news stories going out in the West, typically, right? So check it out, look. Biden and Starmer have started World War III without bothering to tell us. So this story came out yesterday. The UK Prime Minister and the outgoing US President have started World War III by allowing Ukraine to use British and American missiles to attack Russia. They have done this without declaring war or informing their electorates. Starmer and Biden have acted without the authority or knowledge of their citizens. Russia has issued a statement. It's true. We get told after the fact here. Russia has issued, and if you've got a problem with it, you get maced and tased. Russia has issued a statement indicating that it now feels justified in defending itself with nuclear weapons and has given President Putin the authority to start firing nuclear missiles at Britain and the US. We looked at that yesterday. We were looking at the nuke map and seeing what sort of damage that they could do and where and how and what the targets might be. We're in a whole heap of trouble now, boy. We're in a whole heap of trouble now. It's how it's going down. With all respect to the Ukrainian armed forces, I suspect it is unlikely that the Ukrainian army will have been able to fire any of these sophisticated missiles without at least some help and support. And so, exactly. I mean, again, this was the point I made, don't forget, when we were looking through the whole list. The entire list of stuff that is on, Wikipedia that's been put on there showing everything that's been sent to Ukraine for the war effort. This is Wikipedia here, look. And when you look at all the stuff that's been given to Ukraine in fighter jets and armaments and troop carriers and flak jackets and helmets and missile launchers, hundreds of millions of euros and dollars and pounds been pledged as well. And look at the scroll. Look at the scroller above me. Look at the scroller above my head on this side here, just above my finger up there. Look at how slowly it's going down, and it gives you an idea of what I'm chatting about, right? Oh, he won't let me do it. No. But yeah, if we scoot, check it out. Look at the scooting. This is what I mean about the, yeah. This is like, yeah, from here up, it's all of it. This is all the stuff that's been sent to Ukraine. So this is proper global thing, right? It's a NATO thing, but it will become a global world thing, as you see in that list of armaments and vehicles and aid. Yeah. NATO's blind spot, Erdogan, Turkey's leader, and the Hamas connection. You see, Turkey's always been a little bit of a wild card in the whole NATO thing because they're part of NATO, but they're a little bit like Rude Boy. They're a little bit like Maverick when it comes to whose side they're on. And they're pretty good. They're a massive army, Turkey. They mean Bidney. Don't underestimate Turkey's army. Or Iran. Yeah? They mean Bidney between the two of them. No messing about. Right? And so if Turkey decides to turn, if things start getting heated up, yeah? Hugo just heard me with the chocolato. He was sleeping and I thought I was safe. The minute all I did was break one chunk off my chocolate down here, and that was enough. But it could be a wild card in this whole thing when it goes south, which it's looking like it's likely to. You know, switching sides and all that, I don't even know. But they've been somewhat unreliable in previous things with when it came to Syria and some stuff that was going on with Egypt, and they weren't always aligned with NATO. So Turkey's evolution under President Erdogan leadership presents one of the most concerning paradoxes in modern international relations, a NATO member state actively supporting designated terrorist organizations while facing minimal consequences from its Western allies. I mean, one of the things as well that Turkey was famous for, not famous for, but, you know, within the circles of NATO and the higher echelons and things, was where they don't tend to care too much about American sanctions on countries. Like when it came to Iraq and things and the oil situation, there was loads of satellite images that got leaked of all the Turkish trucks with all the oil, gasoline, you know, like the ones that fill up the gas stations. There was just like literally a line of them, and there was supposed to be sanctions on it, and like Turkey was just taking the oil straight out in tankers and just selling it to whatever country wanted it, basically. Right? And it just totally circumvented all the stuff that was supposed to be in place, all the sanctions and shit and tariffs and fuck knows what. So Turkey have been known to be a little bit gnarly when it comes to, you know, and of course with their relationship with Hamas, they're saying, you know, you got to choose a side, man. You got to pick your sides, dude. You got to pick your sides. Let us know how you're feeling about that in the chat. Thank you to everyone who's joining us. Please hit the like button if you haven't done already. And don't forget to vote in the live poll we got rocking tonight on our special Wednesday. Warzone Wednesday. Wearing the onesies. Tonight's poll is: which type of warfare concerns you the most? Is it biological, chemical? Is it cyber warfare with the entire internet and all communications going down? Or would it be an EMP event? Grid down? No favourite TV shows? No hair straighteners? Yeah? No hair dryer? No electric massage thing? Right? None of that. All gone. No massage chair? That wouldn't work. Right? I mean, can you imagine? What a disaster. First world problems, that is. No one wants to see that happen. It's just never a good look. Right, imagine that. No Facebook for just even a couple of hours for some people is like, you know, properly pacifier out the buggy. Yeah? Dummy out the pram. Chaos in the house. I wonder if there are listings popping up on Gumtree in one door out the other, selling it on black market. Cataclysms have happened in the past and human population is bottlenecked down to only a small group. You can see that. And do you know what? Thank you. Oh, sorry, the comments all squished up. Let me fix that right now. Thank you, John C. Yeah, do you know what? It's a really good comment, and it reminds me of actually talking of Turkey with the catacombs. You know, where there's like these caves and like an underground city. I think that was Turkey. Let me know in the live chat if I'm wrong. All right. Doesn't Turkey have nukes? Yes, and a very good air force as well, Robert. Yeah, and buying the royal oil from Russia. Thank you, Daily Survival, keeping the links flowing in the live chat. Even Germany was doing this through shell companies, isn't it? Buying it through India, wasn't it? India was buying it from Thingabop because they didn't care, and then everyone else buying it from India and going, oh, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I ain't done nothing. Ain't not done nothing. Talking of Iran. Iran's still planning response to Israeli strikes. Don't forget that, right? When they were going boom, 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 straight through the Iron Dome, which was more like a jelly dome by the end of it, wasn't it? Strikes as Khamenei says Netanyahu should receive, quote unquote, death sentence. Dun, dun, dun. Of course, the ICC, International Court of Justice or whatever, has issued a warrant for Netanyahu's arrest as well. Countries are now deciding if they're going to honour that warrant. But clearly Iran's looking for more than just an arrest warrant. They want proper macing and tasing. Yeah. They want proper Saddam Hussein style. Do you remember that? Let us know live in the chat if you remember that with Saddam Hussein. Fudum. Yeah? What was that about? Videoed and ting, man. It's like what they did to Guy Fawkes before he could talk. Oh no, that was different because he was supposed to be hanged. Can't say hung, it's hanged. He was supposed to be hanged, but evidently he was taken out before he could even get up to the stocks, you know, the bit where they wait to get hanged. He didn't even make it that far. Anyway, the Iranian regime is still planning its response to Israeli strikes in October, according to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's senior advisor. During an interview with the Iran-affiliated Tasnim news agency, he said military officials are planning various strategies to respond to Israel. So the reason I wanted to bring this story up is because you've got to remember there's quite a few different facets to this board game, right? There's quite a few pieces and flash papers in different places that could spark off the thing that sparks off the thing. So there's already quite a few conflicts going on. And because they all seem to be one-sided, it's almost like, but I don't know how many fronts there would be, because the minute it kicks off for the rest of the world, whether it's Russia and Britain and America and NATO, it will be during that you'll have things like Iran go whoomp, whoomp, whoomp with all they got at you-know-who, and while everyone else is busy dealing with Russia and China and goodness knows what else, right? You'll have, like, you know, Israel just going, right, come on, go. Like firing everything they got at Iran while no one's looking. I can see it now. Let me know live in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. We'll ignore that story there quickly. So you got Serbia's president as well saying Putin isn't bluffing. Serbia's president here. Putin isn't bluffing, so his president warns. Serbia's president has issued a stark warning regarding the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, claiming that Vlad ain't bluffing about the potential use of nuclear missiles. Who is it who's famous for saying nuclear? I can't even say it how you're not supposed to say it. And what's the way that people say it which is wrong? I've only ever said nuclear. Anyway, was it George W. Bush or something that used to pronounce nuclear wrong all the time? Anyway, potential use of nuclear missiles. According to Serbian publication Novosti, President Aleksandar Vučić, who is one of the Putin's allies who claims to know the Russian leader, quote, very well, told journalists, quote, don't think that someone somewhere is bluffing. Unfortunately, nobody is bluffing, and unfortunately, we are walking into a mild disaster. So his ominous comment after Ukraine carried out his first strike on Russia territory with US supplied and Britain supplied Storm Shadows, don't forget, long-range missiles on Tuesday, just days after the Biden administration gave him the green light to say, hit the button, send them over. Meanwhile, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said on Friday that there's a real risk of global conflict breaking out after Russia fired a hypersonic. Not after Russia fired that, it was after bloody the West fired the Storm Shadows into Ukraine, as though that wasn't going to result in some sort of measured response. We're the ones who escalated it up to sending stuff deep into their territory. That is our stuff as well, nothing to do with Ukraine. It's blatant. They're setting us right up for a proper beating. If we struggled against Iraq and Afghanistan, there's no way we're going to be doing anything against Russia and China and that. It's not happening. Senior NATO official says to prepare for wartime scenario as Britain and France consider deploying troops in Iraq. Again, this was 25th of November. So a senior NATO official has urged people to prepare for a, quote, wartime scenario as various European countries consider the deployment of troops to Ukraine. The minute you start doing that, I mean, how can they complain at Russia for having North Korean troops, allegedly, of which no one's shown any evidence yet as far as I've seen? And then they're talking about, all the while, you've got all the NATO countries and all the European countries going, oh, we'll send you 10,000 troops, we'll send you 5,000 helmets, we'll send you 25 F-16s, like I showed you on the old list of stuff that people have pledged here, like Luxembourg, yeah? Look, 5 million euros worth of stuff there, right? These anti-tank thingy bobs, right? Drones, yeah? M2 Brownings, dung 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 dung, yeah. Night vision, 120, that'd be nice. I only want one of them out of the box. Yeah, I'll have one. It's bad news, man. It's bad news. You can see here as well something I wanted to bring up. It says here, like, quote, if we can make sure that all crucial services and goods can be delivered no matter what, then there's a key part of our deterrence, right? So it says here, we're seeing that the growing number of sabotage acts, and Europe has seen that with energy supply. Talking about a pipeline. We thought we had a deal with Gazprom, but we actually had a deal with Mr. Putin. And the same goes for Chinese-owned infrastructure and goods. We actually have a deal with. So, there's a lot of interconnected bidnik going on in terms of, what's going to happen if this goes down and we get our stuff from them and all that. And with the sabotage, with fourth and fifth dimensional warfare tactics, you could be expecting all sorts of sabotage events of key infrastructure, communications, internet, underwater sea cables, these sorts of things to weaken the country. So we've been streaming way over an hour, so I'm gonna have to speed it up because we've got another whole hour in part 2, don't forget, where we're going to be breaking down how to survive these things. Ukraine's former top military commander claims, quote, World War III has officially begun. You see the trend here I'm trying to show you? Former military commander-in-chief and Ukraine's current ambassador to the UK has warned that World War III is already underway in a recent interview published by Politico. I believe, quote, I believe that in 2024 we can absolutely believe that the Third World War has begun, he said. Do you know what? It is interesting because the Deagle report showed the population of countries by 2025, and it reduced significantly, and people had theorized that it was due to some sort of a pandemic maybe, or a war perhaps, or something that would reduce the population by that amount. The UK loses 68% of its population. The US about 58%, 57%, off the top of my head, right? By 2025, so the date's interesting. So you do have to wonder is whether maybe it's because the war's due to be kicking off in 2025. Yeah. And so it means that you're not going to have... I mean, if it goes kinetic and it goes, epic, let's say New Year, right? And it goes on for about 6 months pretty epically, that would probably be enough time to go... it's not going to be some long drawn out thing, I don't think, compared to World War II. I don't think World War III is going to be like that, but this is what we'll talk about in part 2 as to what we think it will look like. Yeah, will it be short and fast and epic? Or will it be long and drawn out with skirmishes going on for years and years, with nukes going off all the time for months and months and months? I just don't think it's going to be like that, but I don't want to influence what you think. So let us know live in the chat, and don't forget to vote in the live poll that we've got rocking as well while you're there, because I'm keen to get insight on people's how they feel about it. I did do a screenshot on the Discord server. Do get yourself joined up on there. The link's in the description. It's a great place to make friends and learn about prepping and survival. And if you know a lot about it, it's a great place for you to help others as well, which is what it's all about. So which type of warfare concerns you the most is the live poll we've got rocking the chat tonight. Biological or chemical? Cyber warfare, internet down, or EMP, grid down scenario. So which out of a World War III type of a warfare-ish concerns you the most? What fears, what give you the little bit of the ghoulies most in terms of, oh, I don't like the idea of that. I can probably handle this, I can probably handle that, I can prepare for this, I can prepare for that. But, And going forward, you see, these polls that we do really give me insight into people's mindset, the things they're concerned about most, and they're the things that I'll target most heavily with information on how to mitigate the dangers of that and give people some confidence and some well-needed boost of positivity with methods that you can go about covering yourself in those situations, basically. Buckle up time soon, says Very Proper One. Yeah, what is so scary? Once launched, they can't be stopped. No. It's pretty much one-way ticket. And of course, once one person launches them, everyone else is going to launch them preemptively. Paul C in the house, great to see you. Nuclear. I think that is it, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Nuclear. That's it. I said it. It's a little bit like, because, I played the drums I used to play the drums, and then I was a nightclub DJ for many years, and I'm a sound producer and stuff as well with a media company I used to run. And you tend to have a very good sense of rhythm. I was like I was in a dance. I don't even want to admit to it, but I used to do dance routines and shit as well. Something I used to do. So anyway, my point is that when you try and pretend to dance like you can't, but you can't because your foot, no matter how you try to look like you can't dance, your foot always ends up landing exactly on the beat like it should do. It's almost like you can't override it. Yeah. That's the same as I feel about trying to say nuclear rather than nuclear. Anyway, thank you, Paul. If you have some 20-something-year-old in the nuclear silo, anything can happen. I know that there are many safeguards, but it just takes one mistake. Yeah. What has your unpopular leader said about going to war or not? Carolyn saying. Kaza saying he avoids the question, doesn't he just? And a good example of that is... a good example of this is what I was showing yesterday, was it? In the global threat analysis, or what we were doing last night. This one here.
Prime Minister, should Brits prepare for nuclear war?
Say that again.
Should Brits prepare for nuclear war?
Look, there's...
So that's how that played out. So, does that answer your question, Caroline Rose? Well, more to the point, does that back up Kaza's answer to your question for Kaza? Great to see you both, my darlings. Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. But yeah, they're talking about it. But of course, the problem they've got is trying to get people to join the army. Nuclear is correct pronunciation. Yeah, but not nuclear. Not nuclear. It's nuclear. Anyway, Kia said, says John C. Yeah, tucked by V1 in the house. Whoosh, gang signs. And the letter K. He goes, he's not a tool. No, you're getting it wrong. It was his father was a tool maker, which I suppose makes him a tool, doesn't it? If he makes tools and then he made him. Who knows? Anyway. That's not very reassuring, says Robert. It's not very reassuring at all, is it? I can't disagree with that. Oh, man. Okay, a couple of other news stories floating around this week as well. Today, this has come out. John Kerry demands climate emergency to force people to behave. There's also another report out I saw talking about how during the lockdowns and that, the climate, apparently the air was so much cleaner during that time. The emissions were so much lower. Not that they were measuring it or anything, but so why we need to go back to that again, quote unquote. I've seen these sorts of reports as well, so it sort of ties in with what I saw here with this one. John Kerry demands climate emergency to force people to behave. And there's been all sorts of talk of things like climate lockdowns and things. You know, in terms of the it's funny because YouTube keeps chopping like tens of people off the live show. I don't know if you're seeing that, moderators, as well, right? It's getting blatant now. Hollywood star Sharon Stone, Trump won because Americans are uneducated. I mean, this is as bad as, you know, what the Democrats were saying. They got themselves into a lot of trouble, calling people garbage, was it? You know, the garbage comment. There was the deplorables comment from Hillary, don't forget. And so I just really wish that Hollywood stars would stay out of it, because it really annoys me, because that's another person whose films I can't enjoy anymore. Anything with Sharon Stone, I've got to write that name down on my list of films I can't watch by people now. This is interesting. Canadian town fined for violating human rights by not celebrating LGBT Pride Month. Look at Trudeau here. How anyone ever votes for this dude, I just have no idea. A town in Canada has been hit with a fine for failing to celebrate LGBT Pride Month. Can you imagine? They got to pay an LGBT activist group $10,000 as a fine to go towards next year's celebrations, I guess. So I'll tell you another interesting story I saw today was the truth about Apophis. Now, I've talked about this many times, which is the asteroid that's coming round. And it was going to hit us in 2028, I think it was. 2029, sorry. April the 13th. And bear in mind, that also happens to be a Friday. If you look up April 13th, 2029, which is when this thing's coming on its perihelion, or whatever it is, where it comes the closest to Earth, is April the 13th, which is a Friday, 2029, right? And if it doesn't hit us then, it's likely to hit us when it comes back round in 2033 or something, 2032. Anyway, on April 13th, 2029, an absolutely gigantic asteroid known as Apophis will come very close to our planet. In fact, we are being told that Apophis will actually be 10 times closer than the moon as it zips past Earth. Now, originally they said it was going to almost guarantee it was going to hit, and then they started dialing it back, if you know what I mean. So I've never trusted anything else since the original, which I was around for when they first spotted it and they updated it on Wikipedia. And basically it was going to hit us. And if it didn't hit us then, because of the deflection of our magnetosphere, our gravitational force as it passes by us, it would change its trajectory so that in 3 years or whatever it is when it comes back round, whoosh, it would be guaranteed to hit us then. But then they seem to refine all that. You have to go on the Wayback Machine now on Wikipedia to see what I'm talking about. Anyway, the good news is that scientists are assuring us zero chance. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. It was a mistake. It was an error in our calculations. It's not really going to hit us. That was kind of how it went, right? And it was like, oh, it's too late now. You've already told us the truth. You've already shown us all the data. Now you're saying, oh, no, we were wrong. Bit sus. So the bad news is that we cannot see Apophis right now. And if there's even the slightest change in the projected trajectory, it could end up slamming into our planet. Bam, bam, bam. Needless to say, if Apophis actually hits it, would be an absolutely cataclysmic disaster. It would. It would. For years, I did not think much about Apophis because I simply trusted what the experts were telling us. Right? For example, NASA is unequivocally saying that, quote, there is no risk of Apophis, which you can't even say that because there's an element of statistical analysis, there becomes an amount of doubt. So you can't say it's definitely not going to any more than you can say it's definitely going to, right? And especially because you can't see it right now because it's basically behind the sun, the other side of the sun. So you can't point your telescopes at it to try and take measurements from it and run it through the whole JPL, Jet Propulsion Lab simulators and stuff. Thank you everyone for being with us live in the chat. Please hit the like button if you're joining us. Nukes could actually be useful for things like Apophis, but they won't even discuss it. Something to look forward to on my birthday then, says Carolyn. Is that 19th of April, is it? Get out of town being fine, isn't it crazy? Yeah. Thank you everyone for being with us. Asteroids can always splinter and change course, says John C. Yeah, especially when it comes near the sun and things like that. Or even the gravitational force of Earth or other planets it goes by can create some tectonic movement within the asteroid just from the stresses and forces. When it goes near the sun, for example, it heats up and expands in places and splits as well. So you're absolutely right, John. There's so many unknown entities that you can't say it's definitely not going to hit any more than you can say it's going to. So Winter Storm's set to disrupt Thanksgiving. Looks like there's nothing newer than that on. We've got buildings damaged, train services suspended after M6.4 earthquake hits Noto Peninsula, Japan. We'll have a look on the earthquake map next. Heavy rains cause severe flooding and landslides in La Paz, Bolivia. And we've got Storm Cornell rapidly intensifies as it moves towards the Netherlands. So we'll just blast into the earthquakes quickly. 33 of them. And I'm not sure if doesn't look like that Japanese one's on here. But we've got 33, which is not that more than normal. In terms of space weather, we do have some active regions, sunspots, which are capable of X-class solar flares. So we'll be watching them as they turn into Earth facing, which is any time from now on. Don't forget the sun takes 28 days to rotate, so about 13.5 degrees per day. So these 3905 and 3906, this area here, any time from tomorrow onwards is going to be pretty earth facing for the next few days, but at the moment they look like they're not really popping anything off. So looks like we can rely on that. In the background, we do have something incoming here on the Enlil spiral, which takes the data from the sun that's due to be incoming, and you can see here where that pops off the sun, top left, looking down on the solar system, but it only just glimpses us. So, and it's really slow speed. You're talking 500 kilometers a second, which is nothing. You're talking 1200 kilometers a second is where we're up at the point where it's going to be doing some damage. So nothing going on at all really, so don't have to worry about the sun, so that's good. We're not going to be doing any memes today because of course we're on Warzone Wednesday, so we're just checking in with what's going on around the world to do with things hitting the fan on a global conflict kind of a basis, and of course referring back to a few of the conversations in the chat earlier on with the confidence at the moment in the British government is on the floor, as this petition that's been obviously making the headlines has been showing quite consistently. So yeah, like I said, you know, only 0.6% of petitions even get past 100,000 in 6 months, let alone 2.8 million in less than 6 days. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what to tell you. So we've been going an hour and 23 minutes already, and we're only in part 1. 5.7 New Zealand last night, was it? Anyone else looking forward to Galactic Current Sheet? I think we're already in the beginning of it flowing over. Yeah? The Galactic Current Sheet. For those who don't know, the Galactic Current Sheet is basically where, in the same way as the sun has a magnetic pole, and during the solar cycle, which is 11 years, and it goes north to south. The pole changes of north to south of the magnetism. The same thing kind of happens on a galactic level, from the center of the galaxy, where you have, you know, theoretically a black hole. And so you have these changing electromagnetic polarizations happening. And so because it spreads out around the galaxy, and this is on about a 12,500 year cycle, and so you know, basically the waves go out like that. As we travel around the galaxy, we're going up and down like this. So if you imagine a merry-go-round, that's how our solar system is traveling around the galaxy's disk. And we're going north and south, right, of the galactic plane. So when you look at the galaxy from the side, yeah, all the stars spin out because of centrifugal forces and so on. So when you look, it's like a disk, right? But the north side is polarized in north polarization, and south of that ellipse, the eclectic plane, is south polarized. So as our solar system travels below and back up, that's 12 years. Oh, sorry, 12,500 years. And then 12,500 years, boom, now we're going into negative territory and so on. So this is what they're referring to with the galactic current sheet. That's what it is. But we've seen evidence that this galactic reversal sheet, when it arrives or when it distorts and then it goes through the galaxy, it will hit certain star systems, let's call it, and solar systems that are further towards the center of the galaxy before it does us. And we've already seen signs of some of the suns, some of the stars out there that are between us and there. We've seen those go supernova. We've seen other ones brighten significantly, and they seem to be in succession of the wave, you know, as it's coming out, as we're moving. So there's a lot going on that, right? I don't really want to confuse everyone over it, but yeah. Yeah, you see, Father No. Right. So that's what it is. It's thought to be about 12,500 years, and ironically, so is the Mayan calendar. The Mayan. This is why 2012 was like, that was to do with the Mayan calendar, and it was nothing to do with the Mayans saying that the world's going to end in 2012. It was about the fact that the Mayan calendar ended, just ran out in 2012. And because the Mayans were the first people, their calendar was what? A 12,500 year cycle. So how did they know that shit? Do 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 do. So, anyway, let's close all those tabs down, shall we? Because we've got so much to get through. It's not even funny. This is even in the end of we've just got to get to the end of part 1, then we've got part 2 yet. So we better crack on. Thank you so much, everybody, being with us live in the chat. Don't go anywhere, because we're not. Just the end of this segment is all. So yeah, thank you to everyone for supporting the SHTF Intel Report Global Threat Analysis. We host you. Don't go anywhere. Sneaky bit of chocolate. Oh no. And I've got Hugo Bear looking right at me as well now. Oh, bless his cotton socks. He's flapping at me. Oh, he's flapping at me. Look at his silly hand. You right, Mr. Flapper? Can you do a paw from that angle? No? Can you do a paw? No? Bless his cotton socks. So we've got Hugo Bear in with us tonight in our war zone location, because don't forget, today is all about
Critical alert.
This
is not a test.
It certainly isn't. This is Warzone Wednesdays in the onesies. Don't forget next week, bring your onesies, yeah, because it's all about being as comfortable as we can while talking about really uncomfortable topics. Yeah. How's Hugo's ear going? Yes, it's not compressed anymore. I need to do one last drain on his hematoma, but whether he'll let me or not, and because it's been raining every day, it's not as easy to put the towel out for him to lie on in the garden to drain it. But yeah, Utah Alien in the house. I'm really sorry, Barry. I did see your missed call on WhatsApp as I was rushing back from the shop with Hugo. But yeah, I was looking forward to catching up with you, my man. So, good to see you in there, my main man, Utah Alien. Do you know what, actually? There's a dude who was in here earlier on, Bazamataz, who was from Utah. I don't know if he's still with us. It's not going to let me see it. I can't remember the exact name, so I don't want to get it wrong. Bazamataz. Razamataz. Okay. What's the okay? Is the okay in reference to the Warzone Wednesday in the onesies? Are you not down for that? Right. Thank you for keeping the links flowing. Daily Survival Patreon is indeed a great way to help the channel. And thank you to UK Open Prepper as our newest VIP Patreon member, and Pat Riot. And thank you to our other VIP Patreon members as well. I couldn't do it without you. I've got loads of ideas for behind the scenes videos as well. So one probably coming up in the next few days. Who's got 6 kids? Cybernetic Cryptic Frog. Great to see you, my man. Saw you over here the other night. UK, oh yes, of course. UK CCTV cameras in London have been offline to public for... Is it still offline? I was going to talk about that last night. I was saying to Sandy earlier when I was talking to her on WhatsApp. I was like, do you know what? I had an entire folder full of loads of stuff to do with the UK CCTV cameras being down in London, and I never even mentioned it once. I've still got a few of them in my folder here. It might have even been the day before. Yeah, it was. This was one of the screenshots to remind me to... This was what it looked like. So, London webcam, live CCTV camera. Now you see they were all just offline, like. But by the sounds of what Mr. T's saying, they still are, right? So... this is where you are. Told you, man, I'm on my daily video challenge. So thank you to everyone who's been joining us. We were only in the part 1. We've got the part 2. We're going to be looking at a whole bunch of stuff that I've got to show you. I've got some videos to run with you, and we're going to be talking about how to survive World War 3. Let's talk about it live in the chat. Please do vote live in the poll as well. We've got rocking tonight that I set up. I did post a picture of that. Oh, Robter has joined the server. Great to see you, my man. Welcome. Let's give you some Wolfpack love. So this is the poll we got going. Which type of warfare concerns you most? Is it biological, chemical, cyber warfare with the internet going down, or EMP with a grid going down? So let us know what concerns you the most in terms of what could pop off. And please do go and join in the fun, and free to join the community over there on Discord server. A great place full of information, absolute knowledge base of everything, whether it's protection, security, homesteading, off-grid survival, all sorts of stuff. So please do go and take advantage of all of the wealth of information that's on the Discord server. And of course, that's where you can go during the week as well. When I'm not here, this is also where we're having our after party tonight. So the public after party room's here. The voice chat after parties where we go after the show. But before we do any of that, what we need to do is to go on a quick break so we can make ourselves a new brew. We've got I need to be getting, and of course if you'd like to get your own official Sigma Prepper Mega Mug merch store is open. Linked in the description below. A great way of helping the channel as well. So don't go anywhere. Thank you for a great part 1. Love, peace and progress. But don't go anywhere. We'll be back in part 2. Get yourself a brew. Welcome back, Wolfpack. Welcome back. It's the Warzone Wednesday. Wearing the onesies with the Wolfpack. We your host Drew, Sigma Prepper. You know how we do. Thank you to each and every one of you. Deep breaths, everyone. Deep breaths. Come on. Even though we are in proper
Critical alert.
a critical alert territory. Yeah. So, love, peace and progress to the pack. Cheers, everyone. For as long as we've got left. Thank you, everyone, for being with me. Thank you for being my friends. Thank you for being my mentors and my mentees all at the same time. I really appreciate each and every one of you being part of this Wolfpack. It's a really cool group of people that we've got ourselves here, and such a wonderful time as well over on the Discord server that I have with you, particularly in the after parties. We will be having an after party tonight. This is where we go, in this room here with the voice speaker, because it's, you know, you don't have to speak and can leave yourself muted. You just want to listen to other people talking about stuff. Had to actually ban someone from Discord yesterday. I won't mention any names, right? But this dude, like 4 times in a row, was just so disruptive. And do you know what? We've never had that before, because usually we have the VIP rooms up there, which is where we have the after parties, and they're exclusively only for VIP Patreon members, even if you're only paying $6 a month, you know, 20 cents a day or whatever. Can you afford not to, right? It's a great way to support me. But that's usually where we do them. But for the next couple of weeks leading up to Christmas, I'm doing it publicly, where you can talk to me live every night after the show, right? So, but thank you to Brave Orange, our newest member on the Discord server. Lovely to see it growing. It's a great bunch over there. Cybernetic Frog as well. Great to see you, my man. Thanks for joining. We need to give it some Wolfpack love. Let's give it some Wolfie Packy. And usually you'll get a bunch of people giving you some love on the way in as well. And go and have a look around. You'll see it's littered with survival information and prepping knowledge, water storage filtration. There's some new stuff added on there. Great video that Sandy's come across there. This is my one with the lake, filtering the lake water. The one before that, where I was doing my new electronic water pump filter that I've devised for wild camping and solo camping, right? So there's so much over there to go and check out. We'll be there after the show as well with our Discord after party for the public. You don't have to be a VIP patron. But thank you everyone for being with me. Really appreciate it. I hope you've hit the like button and voted in the live poll we got rocking tonight. Which type of warfare concerns you the most? We've had 57 people vote so far. Your options are biological, chemical type warfare, cyber warfare, i.e. internet and communications just going down, and then you got an EMP grid down as a potential scenario as well. So make your voice heard, and of course the results of which I'll call towards the end of the tonight's show, and they will be used going forward for me to formulate some of the content that I need to put together for people based on the things that concern you the most. So it looks like it's quite weighted towards one of them, but you'll have to vote yourself in the live poll to see which one that is. Cheers everyone. See, he's got his war hoodie on. This has got a hood as well, right? But this is my onesie. This is the Warzone Wednesday onesie. I've got several. I'll rotate them over the weeks. So, right up my streets, the Cybernetic Frog. Good to hear it, my man. Welcome aboard. I've been designing a business card for the past 5 hours. What's everyone else been doing? We've been talking about war. World War 3, basically, and our fears of it and things like that. And so the part 2, which we've been streaming for ages already, an hour and 44 minutes. So I'll have to bear that in mind for the next week's Warzone Wednesday, and I'll try and stream things down in the beginning, first part, so we can have longer in the second part. And we'll have guests on as well. So tonight's like the launch. It's like the soft launch of the Warzone. Keep saying that. The Warzone Wednesdays, right? is where we're at the moment. So you'll see. Sorry, I just seem to have closed the folder that I always have open accidentally. That's why they put erasers on the end of pencils, you see, because people make mistakes. There's no eraser here. There's no Control Z to undo closing a window. What am I even looking for? Oh, yes. Sorry, that's all I was going to do. It wasn't even anything particularly interesting. I just like to illustrate things, that's all. So this is the thumbnail that you were looking at tonight for this show. The Warzone Wednesday. How do we survive World War III? This is going to become a weekly show. So tonight's like the soft launch of it, just to give people an idea of what the idea of this is. And over the weeks, we'll be gathering more and more information and be more and more specific about preparedness items and prepping categories of things that we need to perhaps focus on, going through the list based on basically what you are voting on tonight in the live poll, with the biological, chemical, cyber warfare, and of course people are going to be slightly scared of more than the other. And so by knowing what we're most scared of, then we can try and alleviate that by finding ways to mitigate these problems during a World War III. And there are many. And this is why I wanted to talk about it, and it's going to take a weekly show to do this, because there are so many different things that spawn from a global conflict happening. Let's just have a quick, just to illustrate that point, I want to see just how sort of switched on people are and tuned into. This is the whole point of part one, where I've given you an awful lot of reports showing just how close on the edge we are, just how exponentially this thing is going out of control. In January, I think it is, we'll be having the next iteration of what do you call it? Let me get into my ebook, because I've got the, in fact, in SHTF Intel Sources, this is my Sigma Prepper Ultimate Prepping Guide book. It's about 300 pages big, but in here is actually, I've got a link in here to in the World War III and stuff. Here we go, that's what I was looking for. The official doomsday clock. So you see it's still 90 seconds to midnight. Now, this is updated. Last time was January the 23rd, so I'm assuming it's an annual thing, but I'm assuming it's January that is updated. And so it's going to be interesting to see what that ends up being in January, 90 seconds to midnight. But we're going to be doing these Warzone Wednesdays all the way up until beyond then, no doubt. All the time this is ramping up, and all the time things are heating up. We need to be getting our stealth in order quick, smart, because we're running out of time, because some of the things that we're going to need to do can be costly, and they can be timely, and they can take time to learn the skills as well. So we need to start yesterday. As they say, the best time to plant a tree was 100 years ago, yeah, or was yesterday. The second best time to plant a tree is today. I'm about 2 miles from rivers, so in SHTF situations that would be great food source. Yes, but of course this is the problem with the nuclear fallout we were talking about, and sort of just touching on, which we need to talk about in more depth in weeks to come, is things like water sources being contaminated with fallout, and just with, you know, radioactive particles coming out, or rainwater, radioactive rain coming down into the reservoirs, into the rivers, onto the land, that then the water comes and washes that into the rivers and so on. There's all this stuff to consider. And so storing your water in a location, we got into, right, was it me and Paul last night in the after party, got right into it, talking about air filtration to filter, air filtration systems, water filtration systems. And again, there's not much you can do with water that's irradiated. So you want to keep that out of Dodge. If you can keep everything out of Dodge for about the first 30 days, you're pretty much all right, because the levels of radiation after 30 days, as long as it's the normal types of radiation you see after a nuclear explosion, you're pretty much okay. You're not at sort of like gonna die levels of environmental radiation because of the half-life. And for those that aren't aware of a half-life, radioactive particles or radioactive substances give off various ionizing radiation, which is the nasty stuff, right? Including gamma, X-ray, and so on, right? And so those particles are giving off energy. So of course, as you can imagine, energy isn't infinite. It gets, energy doesn't get destroyed. It just gets converted from one form to another. So every time the radioactive particle is emanating on its frequency energy, and that energy could be ionizing radiation, which is damaging to our cells, right, and causes mutations and cancers, things like this, right, rupturing and all that kind of business, yeah. And so the half-life is essentially and it's measured in years or days or hours. The half-life of radioactive particles is based on, like, how long is it until the output, the radioactive energy output, is half what it was. And it decays in a linear fashion. That's what's very unique about this. Is where carbon dating comes from. Right, now carbon dating is because there's a known rate at which certain radioactive particles decay, and so by measuring its radioactivity now, you can reverse engineer by doubling it each time backwards, because it's halved all the way to get here. You know what the half-life of it is like, could be 28,000 year half-life. So if it's giving what appears to be a quarter of its power out as what you typically would see, then you can work about you can work back about 120,000 years going back for the half-life to have got to what it is now. Does that make sense? That's how carbon dating works. But carbon dating doesn't work for anything more than 84,000 years, just so you know. But you're not supposed to know that. Probably shouldn't have said it out loud. Anyway, not necessarily. Good. Get all your information you got in there. Do you know what the worst bit about that is, Drew? Surviving it, then going out into the world and seeing the dead and dying. Yeah, and this is a big part of it. In fact, a big chapter in one of the chapters in my book is surviving World War III. Let me just get my notes out for it. And a big part of it is resilience, yeah, psychological resilience, because of exactly that. It's a really good point, Ready Prepper One. People don't realise how, and this is where my whole rule of threes comes from. With it's only the fourth one that I add on the end as my part, but the 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, and I always tag on 3 months without love, right? I mean, this is part of that psychological condition where humans are tribal type beings. We like companionship, we like to have a hug, we like to have someone to talk to help, to be helped by, and so on. It's just how we're made. And so when you do without that for quite a long time, not to mention seeing death and destruction everywhere, young children and things like that all messed up, it's just, it's going to affect everyone, no matter, unless you're a complete and utter psycho. You're going to be, I need to be more aware of this than most, because I'm like super mega empath, right? I really feel other people's pain, emotional pain and things like that, right? And so, and I get, there are things that you have to overcome. You have to acknowledge the fact that you are more towards that side than the other, to know, well, that's, to stop something like that becoming a weakness. You need to, there's certain things you can do with that. You can try, what's it called, where you just basically blast real blatant nasty images of decapitated bodies at, exposure therapy, is it, or something? That's one option, right? But yeah, there's a whole chapter, mental mastery, in my book as well, that talks about psychological resilience is such a really big, massive part of the preparedness, is preparing the mind, because even being huddled up in a little cubby hole, if you're bugging in, as in not homesteading. Homesteading is where you're just doing your thing with all your preps and blending into the neighborhood and helping your neighbors. Hopefully, your neighbors are helping you back. You're looking out for them with your ham radios. They're looking out for you with the ham radios. That's homesteading. That's how you want to roll. When shit gets really bad, or your house gets destroyed or damaged, or or something like that, or compromised, or there's gangs hoarding up and down the roads, this is where you want to bug in, which is hiding in a basement, in a bunker, in an attic, in a crawl space, in a panic room, and so on. That's bugging in. And then bugging out, obviously, is like evacuation orders, or your house is just burnt down, or any number of things, right? So you need to understand the difference between those three things. And of course, when we're talking about World War III, I think the first thing people jump to is nuclear, which isn't always the case. I think it will go quite a while before it goes proper nuclear, because they can do so much damage with non-nuclear weapons. This is the thing. As has been said by many business leaders before, nuclear weapons are actually more political weapons than they are kinetic weapons, right? Because you can't really use them effectively, because once you use them, you're going to get everything lobbed at you. Do you see? So whereas this is where they start blurring the lines and they start talking about tactical nukes. You're hearing that more and more, tactical nukes. Now these are supposed to not come under the traditional nukes. They're like low yield, still far more effective than TNT equivalents and so on, and other forms of explosives they use in these sorts of military based bombing campaigns, right? But when you start talking tactical nukes, they're just like miniaturized but still very explosive for their payload size. Big bang for the buck, if you know what I mean. But they could go under the radar. You could see quite a lot of tactical nukes used, right? And what we'll do for next week as well is I'll be breaking down some of the most common half-lives. I've got some notes on it, but it's not the way I'd like to show it to you, because this is just for my book, for the Surviving World War III chapter. And this is why I really want to start this Warzone Wednesdays. It's really important for us to have a space that we can come here and talk about what we've learned, what we've found out during the week, ways that we've found that we can mitigate certain things, new technology out there that's something to worry about. We've got the drone thing going on in the UK right now, with there's a couple of military bases that aren't that far away from where I am in the UK that are scrambling fighter jets because allegedly there's unidentified drones and things flying around up there, suspected to be Russian, who knows. And there's lots of stories like that floating around the UK right now. Let me know if you're seeing similar stories where you are. But usually these are things that are used to ramp people's fear levels up, which the governments are going to need, because it's very difficult to go to war when you don't have the backing of your citizens and you don't have the backing of your country, because your enemy is going to know you don't have the backing of your country. And that patriotism has been burnt off the UK citizens over the last 10 years, that people have been demonized for having British flags, demonized for showing any patriotism to the country, demonized for being British, basically, is how people out there seem to feel when you keep your finger on the pulse and you watch people's comments on news reports to do with it all. People aren't feeling very patriotic. Patriotism, don't forget, is defending your country always and your government when they deserve it. Patriotism is defending your country always and your government when they deserve it. So what we're seeing at the moment, and what we're going to see more of, is these big campaigns to demonize the countries that they're going to foresee as being our enemies, our adversaries, the allies, the enemies. And of course, all the allies are going to be having lots of media spouted to them to make them look like the bad guys. You have to dehumanize a country before you can expect your citizens to go to war with them. If we understand how things are going to play out, we can understand and reverse engineer what we would expect to see along the way. And this is how I usually roll, and how I make the predictions I make, is because I look at the trends going forwards. I think to myself, if I needed to take my country to war and it was my job to do that, what would need to be in place first before? And it's like, well, you would need to get the country, your citizens with you on it and on board, because otherwise you're going to end up like it was in Vietnam by the end of it. In America, it's going to be difficult, more and more difficult, to put bigger budgets past the public that you're pledging to these wars. Plus, obviously, the risk that they will try and diminish in response. Otherwise, if we think we're going to get nuked by Russia all the time, we're going to be less likely to be up for a war with Russia, which is what our countries need us to be up for, in order not just to get people into the army to support the campaign or to support the cause, but equally to get the country to support it politically when it comes to funding it and not getting out on the streets. And it's not... That's one of the first things in sort of fourth and fifth dimensional warfare tactics, is to... A big part of it is psychological warfare, where you're kind of using various tactics to make your people I don't think we should get into what I was going to get into. I'm just self-censoring, I'm sorry. Once you know it has happened, it's time to do those, see the aftermath. Doesn't carbon dating rely on atmosphere being the same now as way back, which it wasn't? That's more ice dating, ice core dating. Carbon dating, the atmosphere doesn't get in the way of decay rate. It's a little bit like a quartz crystal in your digital watch. Yeah, it vibrates when you pass an electric charge over it. It creates a vibration at a very specific frequency that's consistent all of the time. So it means that it is always vibrating at 38,173 hertz or whatever it is, something like that. But it's always that. So you can just have your thing track how many ticks it's doing, and then divide it by 38,173, and you know when a second's gone by. That's how you know what I mean. So it's like that in terms of like radioactive decay is consistent and is measurable, and it's consistent because it's consistent with different temperatures, different environments, different factors, being next to a magnet, being around heat or not heat. Do you know what I mean? That's why it's quite effective. But again, we're not saying, I mean, carbon dating anyway doesn't carbon date something down to a year. It will just say, oh, you know, this is like 2,700 years old. But the margin will be like 2,300 to 3,100. And they'll just go bang in the middle, call it 2,700 between friends. And that's what gets put on Wikipedia, right? So, yeah. Yes, and you know, funnily enough, when I first did the whole rule of threes, and again, one of the very first chapters, in fact, in my book is that. Here we go. So yeah, the rule of threes. Look, oh, let's zoom in. And here you see 3 months without love. Right, we all know the other ones. So emotional and social well-being. Humans need emotional support to thrive. Without love, kindness, and human interaction, mental health can deteriorate significantly over 3 months, impacting overall well-being and survival. Building a supportive community and maintaining positive relationships are crucial, especially in survival situations. There's a quote between every chapter in my book. So if I had 5 minutes to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 3 sharpening my axe. Brilliant one. Abraham Lincoln. And then this is one of the first chapters, why we need to prepare. You see here, one of my favourite quotes here. Look, it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. You got no idea how many iterations it took for AI to create me a Noah's Ark that's massive. Every time it was put in like trucks and lorries and cars and tanks and what the hell? It was like it took ages. It took ages. But dangers of learned dependency, and again this goes into detail in terms of the reasons why we need to prepare. And got the Sigma Prepper quiz as well that works. Try again. You see, this is an interactive book that I've made, and you've got dotted throughout it my classic Sigma Prepper quiz that I've turned into interactive ebook. So according to the rule of threes, how long do you typically survive without food? 3 weeks. Yay, correct. See what I did there? You can reset, look. If you do 3 days, it says incorrect. Sorry, please try again. I'm only showing that off because it took me so long to write the code to do that in PDF, and no one else seems to have ever done anything like that with a PDF before. Nothing in life is to be feared, it's only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more, so that we may fear less. Didn't Marie Curie do, didn't she invent the, what do you call it? X-ray machine? Let me know. Starving pets would be hard to watch. Yeah, especially when they look as cute. Oops, wrong one. Especially when they look as cute as Hugo Bear. Why is that so far off the screen? Sorry. That's better. Look at his little face. He's not little, he's like 62 kilos. He's a 130 pound beast, Hugo Bear. But the bigger the dog, the bigger the you-know-whats as well, unfortunately. Cheers, everyone. But yeah, one of the options, Kaza, one of the options is that exposure therapy to try and, you know, get yourself comfy with the idea, right? Let us know what you think of the sneak peek of my ultimate prepping guide so far. What's the one of the things I was actually, the thing I was going to actually show you though, nothing to do with any of that, do apologise. Mental mastery. So this was one, because we're talking about resilience and things like this. This is the mental mastery chapter. And again, the quote that precedes this one. Look at that beautiful Sigma Prepper wolf. Beautiful. Anyway, in the chaos of survival, your mind is both your compass and your shield. Oh, does that sound familiar? Yes, because my quote I came up with a bunch of my own quotes for the book. I'm a writer anyway, amongst other things. Some of the quotes became lyrics for the Wolfpack anthem tune, the countdown tune to the lives, if you haven't heard that. That's where you recognise my quote from. Or the lyrics from the quote, in the chaos of survival, your mind is both your compass and your shield. But anyway, and this is obviously relevant to this chapter, mental mastery, right? The power of survival instincts and transforming instincts into strategic action. So this is about getting control of your natural instincts to freeze, fight. Sorry, I'll do it in order. Freeze, fight, flight, fawn, and flow, right? And I break down each of the survival instincts, right? Fight. And then when fight can be beneficial, detrimental, and so on. And then there's some exercises for people to do to try and help them become flow, which is obviously me. Which is where you're not knee-jerk reacting with your survival instincts, like just running away or freezing because you don't know what to do. You're instead more mentally there. You can think things through strategically. You can use your survival instinct strategically. If it's time to flight, if you need to have the time to freeze and take stock of what's going on, like using the OODA loop, for example, which comes up next, does it, or something? I think I put that in there next. So enhance your survival's responses. So this gives you some exercises to do to enhance each of these. Sorry, everyone. And then the OODA loop here, you see, where you've got the observe, orient, decide, and act loop. So the observe, for example, is to just observe what's going on, right? It's just you just did an explosion somewhere or something's happened, there's people running. You need to take that time to freeze as a survival instinct, but you need to control that enough to just observe what's going on, absorb all the information, where are all the exits, where are all the things, where's all the people running towards, where's the actual threat, That's the orientation of deciding, you know, of collecting all the data and figuring out what that all means. And then the decide is deciding a course of action, which way you're going to go. And then the act is like, then do what you're going to do. That could be flight. It could be fawn. It could mean that along the way you need to negotiate with a gang to let you pass. You may need to use your fawn survival instinct to try and appease people. And so it's about understanding how you don't have to stay in the trap of your knee-jerk reactions. It's all controllable, and of course making decisions can be easier using the Eisenhower matrix with the things that are important versus urgent, which are different, right? So it goes into great detail, but in summary, we talk about fear and anxiety, recognizing fear, overcoming fear, indecision, analysis paralysis. Is pretty in-depth, right? Overwhelming stress and shock, lack of preparedness. The greatest threat in a crisis is not the danger itself, but being unprepared for it. Another one of my own quotes. And then we've got the achieving flow in survival situations, putting it all together. And so that's kind of how that chapter's sort of roughed out. I mean, that's a complete chapter, but I mean, in terms of just roughly going over it for you, the reason it's like it is because I've seen so many people in crises I've been in myself personally around the world in countries I've lived in that aren't as lucky as the West to have stable economies, stable governments, stable energy supply and things like this. You realise how fragile people are. It's not just the fabric of society is extremely fragile, it's also people individually. Yeah, they lose their shit. I've seen people just sitting in the corner like shaking, doing nothing, when like, you know, water's rising up above their knees. It's like, and you realise that that's the biggest threat, is, you know, people just not knowing what to do. Analysis paralysis, basically. And so don't forget, on the link in the description below, here, this is my website, sigmaprepper.com. Link in the description below has got the my merchandise and stuff for survival mugs and things. On the survival gear here, I think I've got it linked down the bottom underneath some of my prepping gear. Got the survival hotspot here, offline internet, emergency internet. So the exclusive merch, right? I did design a couple of mugs, black and white, with the different characters. So you've got Fawn, for example. You see, this is the Fawn design, taking the characters from my book. So you've got the logo. You've got Matey Boy here, who's the Fawn guy. My survival instinct is Fawn, the art of saying yes and meaning no. Right, so they've all got like a sort of safe for work caption type thing going on with them. But links in the description of this video if you want to go and check out my range of Sigma Prepper official merch mugs. Great way to help the channel. Thank you, everyone. Oh. Another great way, obviously, of helping the channel is hitting the like button. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to our newest subscribers as well, Christopher and Assorted Weirdness. Like it, what a great name, Assorted Weirdness. But don't forget, we're as well, after the show tonight, we're going to be going straight into the after party on the Discord server. It's an open free server to join. It's the Sigma Prepper Discord community server. Get yourself over to the public after party, where I'll be in the after party, the voice chat here, straight after the show. If you want to talk to me about anything, ask me anything, or you want to tell us someone, you know, whatever we're going to talk about, and the after party. So we've got that coming up after the show, don't forget. So let's just check in with the chat quickly, see what I've missed. Loads. Yeah, I'm the same, Kaza. Anything to do with animal suffering. Please go and share your pets as well, your loved ones. Remind ourselves why we're preparing and why we need to stay alive for our pets, if nothing else. Thanks, Paul C. Look at the beautiful face on that little thing. And little Hugo in the background as well. We've got a combined shot there. Hugo Bear and little Purdy Cat. Not sure of its name. But thank you, Paul. Really appreciate you sharing that with us. And oh, look, I didn't see the one with the shades, man. This is Scottish Prepper. I love his huskies, man. When I come up and visit you in Scotland, I want full husky hugs. So share your pets in there. This is Hugo Bear with my dad and his little doggy Pip. Yeah. This is Grandad Sigma Prepper. Check out Hugo Bear and Pip. Bless their little cotton socks. So go and share your loved ones over the Discord server, amongst other things. And of course, we want your memes and we want your quotes. Tomorrow we got a special show. We got Sigma quotes here. Get your quotes in there and get your memes in there, because tomorrow we've got a super special show. What super special show you got for us, Drew? We've got special Thanksgiving show. I'm not sure what time I'll be going live yet, but I suspect it's going to be earlier than normal. Could even be as early as 6 p.m. UK time. To 1 p.m, I suppose, Eastern time. Yeah, on the East Coast. I'll have to think about that. Maybe 8 p.m. UK time. But it'll be a little bit longer. I'm also would like to do Sigma Prepper quiz. I am planning to do Sigma Prepper quiz tomorrow, so join in for that. There won't be any prizes because it's not in the budget, because you know, times are hard and stuff, and just building this channel, it's a struggle. A way to make it less of a struggle is to hit the notification bell. Make sure you put all notifications on your bell, because YouTube has a habit of, yeah, when you're not looking. So check that, and get yourself on Discord means you get the announcements as well when I'm doing videos, and by sharing your videos on your social media is another way to help the channel grow. So thank you to everybody. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's just a quick intro really into the whole Warzone Wednesday. Let me know how you're feeling about the format of it. As I say, typically part one we'll be talking about what's going on in the world, a quick catch up of the week's events to do with the war situation kicking off, and then part two we'll be talking about realistic survival techniques that we can employ, some great products that are out there that can help us, whether that's things like potassium iodide, things like this, to protect your thyroid in the event of nuclear, and all these other things. We'll be talking about it in the weeks to come, so please join us every week on a Wednesday. Bring your onesies as well. Don't forget, it's all very important to keep comfortable while we're talking about really uncomfortable topics. So yeah, come and join us over in the after party on Discord. That's where we're going to be with the Wolfpack, and yeah, it's been a great show. So thank you, Jenny Simon. You just reminded me we need to finalize the votes, and we've had 64 votes in our live poll tonight. So we'll call that then. I'm just screenshotting it now so we can log it as evidence over on our community Discord server for we can look back at it over time. So final poll results, and then just Control V, paste that in there. Bosh. So this is how it ended up then after 64 votes. Thank you to everyone. Which type of warfare concerns you the most? Biological, chemical, cyber warfare, or EMP? And by 52% versus 17 and 31%. So it's kind of close but kind of not. It was a large majority. Biological, chemical looks like the one that's most people are concerned about. And do you know what? I think I agree with you all. As I was talking to Mr. T last night, we were talking about things to do with that. And when you get down to chemical stuff and biological stuff, it's just, it's nasty. Not being able to go outside, not being able to go to, you know, all the time you're not able to go outside, you're not able to do the toilet thing, you're not able to, it means everything's got to be inside, including all your water, and trying to seal your house off to not let chemical gases and things like that come in, or biological hazards coming in. It's just nasty. But these are things that we're going to need to acknowledge and work out how we're gonna operate in an environment like that, right? Because it's not impossible, and it doesn't cost that much money. A mate of mine bought a biological warfare suit looking thing for Halloween for about 20 quid, and it was airtight. Yeah, I said tape up the wrists and feet, yeah, and try compressing it and squeezing it, and you know, does it feel like it's like a balloon that's not? He said, yeah, it's like airtight. So it's not that expensive to get even a cheap thing up and running that's going to be better than nothing, right? So these are things that we need to talk about. So happy Thanksgiving to you all tomorrow. Don't forget, we'll be doing a special Thanksgiving show for our American friends anyway. Very awesome show. Thank you, Robert. And we'll be building up each week with our World War III survival knowledge base in these shows as we go. I'll probably set up a specific playlist for it as well. And like I say, looking forward to next Wednesday as well. Of course, we'll be reporting during the week on other things to do with it. But each Wednesday is when it will be dedicated to the global conflict that we see, how we can survive it and things like that, right? So thank you everyone for being here with us. We're going to go and have a nice old concubus. Great to see you. We're going to have a I'm glad yeah. So there's only Panic Gill. Sorry, I'm only just catching up with some of the comments. Everyone, thank you so much, everyone. You're such a wonderful bunch, and I'll be back on tomorrow. Don't forget for the In the meantime, there's a bunch of videos on my channel to watch to entertain yourself. Could really do with a watch time with my target to try and go monetized by the end of the year. So what can I say? It's been an absolutely wonderful thing. Hugo Bear's been us with the whole time, and he's literally just been kipping. Bless his cotton socks. He's got no idea we're talking about him. He's got no idea how handsome he is either. And this is another thing about war that annoys me, is that all of the innocent animals and wildlife that get destroyed along with our environment and our way of life and our societies and the cities we grew up in. So what can I tell you? Buy a Zorb, get a Zorb. That's brilliant, Happy Limpet. I love you so much. I love each and every one of you. You're such a wonderful bunch. Thank you to everyone for being who you are. I've been Drew, the Signal Prepper. Please hit the like button on the way out if you haven't done already, and I shall see you asses in the next one. But in the meantime, love, peace, and progress to the pack.
Reject the herd, prepare the pack. Click the like button, it's as easy as that. Check the description for the links you need. Follow my socials, subscribe to my feed. From a single lone woman to a family of 5. Learn from Sigma Prepper and see how you can thrive. We understand the risks that tomorrow could bring. We adapt and survive, it's a wolf pack thing. Reject the herd, prepare the pack. Click the like button, it's as easy as that. Check the description for the links you need. Follow my socials, subscribe to my feed.